The end. Hi, it's me here. And today we gotta read The Bed That Bounced to the Moon by Greg Pizzol. Once upon a time in a land not so far away, there was a little boy named Noah who had an extraordinary bed. It wasn't just any bed. Oh no. This bed had a mind of its own and a bouncing problem. Every time Noah went to bed, his bed would begin to shake. And then, without warning, it would spring into action, floating up towards the ceiling. Now, this wasn't the kind of bouncing that could be fixed with a mattress. Tag, these were the kind of bounces that could send a boy flying through a window or a doghouse, even across the rooftops and over the garden walls. And every night when Noah's mom would tuck him into bed, she'd have to hold on tight because his bed didn't know when to stop. "Oh, bed," she'd cry out, "please don't go flying tonight." But his bed never listened. As soon as the moon peeked through the window, it would start to glow. His bed would hum a little tune, and then it would zoom right up to the ceiling, leaving poor Mrs. Blueberry all alone in the dark. Now, Mrs. Blueberry loved her son very much, so every night she'll grab a blanket and a flashlight, and she'll climb out the window after his bed. She'd chase it down the street and over the rooftops, until finally she could reach Noah and bring him home again. This went on for quite some time until one night, while climbing onto Noah's bed for the 1,000th time, Mrs. Blueberry had an idea. She took her sewing kit out of her pocket, and she started to mend the rips in the blanket. As she sewed, she hummed a happy tune, and before long, the rips were gone and the blanket was as good as new. Then, as she climbed into bed with Noah, she whispered, "I have a feeling our nighttime adventures are about to come to an end." Noah yawned and snuggled under the covers. "Me too," he mumbled. And off they went to dreamland. When the moon peeked through the window, it didn't glow. When it hummed a little tune, it didn't zoom to the ceiling. Not one bit. Mrs. Blueberry smiled. At last, they could sleep in peace. The end. Well, that's the end of our story, but it doesn't have to be the end of our fun. You can help me with a little experiment. When I read this part of the story, I did something special. Do you hear that? Good. Now let's try it again. Every time Noah went to bed, his bed would begin to shake. And then, without warning, it would spring into action, floating up towards the ceiling. Now, when I read this part, I used my best monster voice and I pretended to be the bed. How about this part? She took her sewing kit out of her pocket and she started to mend the rips in the blanket. As she sewed, she hummed a happy tune. Which character should I use for this part? Maybe I should use my little alien voice. Try it with me. Mrs. Blueberry smiled. At last, they could sleep in peace. Well, maybe I'll use my nice voice for this part. Try it with me. Well, that was fun. We made lots of silly voices together. If you want to make silly voices with me again sometime, you can read this book along with me. Just click here to order your copy of The Bed That Bounced to the Moon. And if you want to read another story with me, just click here. There are so many wonderful stories to choose from. Pick your favorite or pick one you've never read before. Or if you need a little help deciding, just click here and I'll help you find the perfect story. We read so many wonderful stories together. What is your favorite story? Why don't you tell me about it? Just click here to write me a note. Tell me your favorite story. Tell me what you like about it. Or tell me about a time you shared a story with someone you love. I'd love to hear all about it. Just click here to leave me a note. And if you want to see what else I have planned for story time, just click here to subscribe. And I'll see you next time for our very special story time.